It's on the way. No good. He hooked it. And Georgia is going to survive.
Duggan takes a knee, fitting that the football is in his hands as they march on to the championship game.
The stage has been set. The Bulldogs of Georgia and the Horned Frogs of TCU will face off in the national championship. Both teams have been undeniably great this season. However, entering both teams had very different outlooks. Georgia was the reigning national champions after a 14-1 season that ended with a victory over rival Alabama. Georgia entered last season in the shadows of Alabama, coming off a national championship of their own. Georgia would burst onto the scene, winning 12 straight games before losing to Alabama in the SEC championship. Stetson Bennett took over the starting quarterback duties and went 11-1 as a starter a season ago. The Dogs won the national championship and cemented their name in college football history. Entering this year, Georgia had a target on their backs the entire season, losing 15 players to the draft, including having 5 go in the first round. Georgia had some work to do if they wanted to repeat as champions. Along with the 15 players, Georgia lost their defensive coordinator Dan Lanning to Oregon. However, none of that mattered. Georgia went 14-0 and consistently reminded everyone that they are the best team in the nation. Georgia has taken down Oregon, Tennessee, LSU, and Ohio State on their way back to the national championship. Now the only team that stands between them and becoming the first back-to-back national champions in a decade is TCU. TCU is in a position that no one expected them to be in. The Horned Frogs were projected to finish 7th in the Big 12 this year. However, they didn't listen to the outside noise. They've been counted out time and time again, but no one is counting them out now. TCU hired Sonny Dykes away from SMU to become their head coach this season. Last season, TCU went 5-7, and in 2021 did not qualify for a bowl game. Max Duggan was the starting quarterback and was mediocre at best, throwing for 4,048 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Duggan led a subpar group to a subpar record. Coming into the year, no one expected TCU to make a bowl game. TCU closed their ears and only listened to what was said behind closed doors. Max Duggan entered the year as the backup quarterback. After the starter got hurt in week 1, Duggan took over. Duggan never looked back. Gutsy performance after gutsy performance propelled the TCU quarterback to a Heisman finalist appearance, passing for 3,546 yards and 32 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. Duggan also added 461 yards on the ground to go along with 8 touchdowns. The Frogs went through a grueling Big 12 schedule that included wins over ranked opponents in 4 straight weeks. The only blemish on the schedule came in the Big 12 championship overtime loss to Kansas State. But they bounced back, beating Michigan in the semifinals, and now have a shot to win their first national title in nearly a century. The stage has been set and the lights will be on. Georgia versus TCU, the Dogs versus the Frogs, David versus Goliath. For WFUV Sports, I'm Danny Scott.